Welcome to Hero's Journey Physio Fitness. Our mission is to empower, inspire, and mentor people to reclaim their health and become self-reliant in their fitness. I'm your host, Dr. Cameron Hogue. Join with me as my co-host, Annabelle Rios.
We are going live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Hero's Journey. Guys, it feels like it's been a while for Cam and I.
Well, we're still releasing. We just got ahead on a few.
I know, we got ahead for a little bit, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Annabelle forgot how to set up the equipment and how to do it.
What?
I typically do it anyway, but
I was plugging it in the wrong holes, and it just wasn't working, if you get what I'm saying.
what a rook.
But anyways, guys, you know the drill. Like and subscribe. I think a few weeks ago we said tell 2 people, then 3. I think we're at 4 now. You need to keep increasing. Keep spreading the word. Spreading the good news of Hero's Journey. Helping everyone.
Yeah, it'll just help people like you find people like us.
Exactly.
So, we do want to do a little sales pitch today, just because we like their stuff so much.
We don't do it often now.
Yeah, we don't want to just bombard every episode with a little sales pitch here. But I do want to bring up Legion's Athletics. They are the #1 brand of all natural sports supplements in the world, and there's a few good reasons. Number 1, all products are 100% natural, no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or dyes. 2, Legion's doesn't use any proprietary blends. What you see is what you get. And number 3, Legion only uses the clinically effective dose of ingredients that have been proven to work. They don't add just a bunch of fluff in there. So if you like what you heard, head on over to www.legionsathletics.com. Use code HEROES, that's HEROES, to get 20% off your first order and double loyalty points on each order after that, aka free stuff.
Listen, it works because I used the code myself.
You did what?
I've used the code.
Oh, you've used the code. I thought you said you used to cut yourself.
Oh, no.
Sorry, man.
No, I've used the code.
Yeah, and we actually really like the protein
What's that flavor?
cinnamon cereal.
Cinnamon cereal. It's really good.
I mean, you can definitely have it for breakfast, but I kind of like it as a little late night dessert type thing. So good.
It's my favorite one.
It almost makes you believe that there are sweeteners in it, but it's naturally flavored. It's really good.
So good.
What are we talking about today, Annabelle?
I don't know. I always kind of forget. I think every as we get into every episode, I'm like, what are we talking about today?
Annabelle gets in the spirit and just starts talking.
I do. I know last week we released the top 10 strength exercises.
Yep.
And then it led us into the path of where you know what? Those are great. And you can only do those 10 and be fine for the rest of your life. But others may want a little bit more. Maybe there's a lacking body part. Maybe they want to get, pretty much a lacking body part, or something that's not being hit as much whenever you're doing a lot of these compound lifts, which brought us to isolation exercises.
Yeah, we are going to give you what we believe is at least our top 10 isolation exercises that should definitely be in your routine. So
yeah, there's so many, and there's so many considerations to take. These are just the ones that we've tried and we've liked and are easy to set up and do.
I think it kind of begs a good question on what is an isolation exercise. You know what I mean?
I guess most people understand that. What, you know what? Back in the day when I was lifting, I guess that I followed more of a bodybuilder split. You know, you have your chest, back. And now that we're doing more compound lifts, it's like, oh, okay. I didn't even think of isolation exercises as much.
Yeah.
But essentially, compound lifts is you're incorporating a lot more muscles. And in theory, isolation is you're only using one or a handful of muscles. Is that the best way you would describe it?
Basically, that's the best way. You're trying to, quote unquote, isolate one muscle, so to speak, or maybe one joint versus using a lot of muscle. And again, nothing is like purely isolated. You're always contracting something else. You know, you're definitely emphasizing probably one muscle, but you know, there's also other muscles kind of involved in that.
Yeah, like I think you were saying earlier, it's like it's really hard to completely isolate.
Right. but you can definitely emphasize and focus on one. So, really quick examples would be, last episode we talked about squats being one of the best thing for strength. So compare that, which is a compound lift. Your hips are moving, your knees are moving, your ankles are moving. It's working multiple muscles. Compare that to leg extensions. So you get on the leg extension machines and you're, squeezing your quad muscle. Now, they're both quote unquote leg exercises, but one is working a butt ton of muscles and joints while the other is most likely just
a butt ton of muscles.
See what I did there? A little squat action. While the leg extension is working mainly your quads. The same things could go for like chin-ups being compound, curls being isolation, bench press being compound, pec fly being more isolation. You're just trying to emphasize.
Would you say that generally it's harder to overload isolation exercises?
Well, yeah. So just even looking at the leg extension versus squat example, you can squat versus leg extension example, you can squat way more than you can do on leg extension. Why is that? Well, because you're, utilizing way more muscles than just one. So what was your question?
You answered it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was like, do you think that it's a lot easier it's a lot harder to overload isolation?
You are definitely going to hit your ceiling, so to speak, way quicker on isolation than you will on compound, for sure. But I guess a question would be then is, well, why would you even do isolation then if like you can lift more weight? We said size follows strength. Like, why even do isolation? Can you even build muscle doing this? And the answer is, well, of course, you definitely can. But think about it. We just talked about you can max out so quickly doing these exercises versus you have more maybe longevity. Maybe your bench press started at 95 pounds. Then, you can, if you keep working, you can technically keep getting it up there to the upper 200s, 300. Like you can keep getting that up. But your pec fly, you're probably going to start maxing out pretty soon.
Yeah.
There's only so much your pec can do without incorporating other muscles. So why even do them if, you can build muscle, but maybe not as great as using compound? Why even do them, Animal?
I don't know, guys. I don't think you should be doing them.
That's the truth. The Animal doesn't think you should do them. Well, Annabelle said earlier is to kind of round out your physique, and they are good at assisting and supporting your compound lifts.
Oh, I agree. Especially, for instance, say you have a weak triceps. They can help you in your bench.
Right. So what Annabelle's alluding to there is like maybe your chest and your shoulders are doing pretty good on the bench press, but your triceps are kind of like the weak link in that armor.
In that movement.
So like a good example of that would be like if you are having trouble on the lockout at the top, it could be a tricep thing because at that point your chest and shoulders have already done majority of the bench press. But if you're having trouble locking, you might need to throw in some isolation exercises for your triceps to kind of get them working.
We'll get there, guys. All right, we'll get there. Slow down, guys.
I know.
But no, that's good. No, okay, yeah.
And another big thing with this is the mind-muscle connection.
You hear that a lot in the bodybuilder circle.
Yes.
But it's true. Talk to them about it.
So what this is basically when you are able to decrease the weight and almost, simplify the movement, so to speak, and quote unquote isolating that one muscle, you're able to, squeeze it and contract that muscle harder than you can with a compound lift. And this is going to help with that mind-muscle connection. When you're able to, contract more forcefully, you're able to recruit more motor units of that muscle, therefore getting a harder contraction. And that's going to definitely assist you when you actually do a compound lift, like being able to quote unquote feel the muscle. Some people are like, I just don't feel what I'm working. I don't feel what I'm. So that's when you might need I don't feel my back when I do this. Okay, you probably need to back off. You probably need to go do an isolation exercise and really focus on trying to squeeze that muscle and, leave your ego at the door and lighten the weight. And that's what's going to help you actually develop that connection. If you can't feel the muscle during an exercise, you probably need to go do an isolation exercise and try and feel it.
Cause I think I saw somewhere that said it can actually help you build more muscle when you have that connection. Because you're able to properly recruit the right muscles.
Yeah. So, this is kind of a funny example. but we have a good friend, and he's got a well built chest, and he's able to do the Terry Crews pec dance. But being able to do the pec dance, so to speak, contract your muscles like that, it takes that mind muscle connection. If you talk to a lot of people, like I can't like contract my chest like that and do the pec dance. But then you gotta ask yourself, well, how well developed is your chest? Like, it's almost like the chicken or the egg. Does our friend have a well developed chest and that's why he can do that, or is it because he has the mind muscle connection and that's what made him develop his chest well? Either way, or both. Either way, they both happen. He's got a good chest and able to contract them independently without having that mind muscle connection. So it's very important for actually being able to see that muscle growth. One difference between that and the compound lifts are, in compound lifts, the mind muscle connection is not really the priority. It's about getting up and getting down. It's about moving that weight, moving that load through space.
Like getting as strong as possible.
Yeah, you're calling on as many muscles as possible to get the weight up. Think of the deadlift versus like a hamstring curl. So you're not too concerned about, quote, feeling your hamstrings when you're deadlifting. You're just trying to keep good form and lift that weight and put it back down.
Yeah, I guess another thing with the isolation lifts that we kind of touched on is they really can support your key lifts significantly.
Yes, they're very much so. And we're about to get into our top 10, what we believe are some of the best isolation exercises you need to be doing.
Oh, I guess before that, would you say there's a lot of variations of these exercises?
There are so many variations.
Meaning like tables, calisthenics version, dumbbell versions, barbell versions.
You're correct. There's so many different ways to do these, and I don't want to get, quote, lost in the sauce. I'm doing a lot of quotes today. I need to stop
Lost
doing
in the
that.
sauce. I haven't heard that one. I've heard it's lost in the weeds.
Oh,
What's it? Sauce?
That's weak sauce, man.
I like the sauce one better.
Well, I don't want to get lost in the sauce here, but there's a lot of variations of these things, and we'll kind of like as we go through, we'll talk about what the difference is between doing this exercise with a dumbbell versus a cable versus calisthenic.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to incorporate at least the calisthenics version of the exercise, so that way, if you're more of a calisthenics type of trainee, you might want to do it this way, but it's at least a very similar motion, hitting and targeting the same muscle.
Oh, one more thing.
What's up?
Rep ranges. Do you think this is probably better reserved for higher rep ranges than lower ones, like you might see in some compound programming?
Yeah, the good rule of thumb on isolation lifts from what you see out there is about 8 to 10 rep range, which again is a wide rep range. Like you can spend a month in the 8 to 10 rep range, and then the next month in the 10 to 12 rep range, and then the next month at the 12 to 15 rep range, all trying to increase your reps. So like that's 3 months worth of training in that rep range for that single exercise before you would even need to change either the load or the angle or how you do it. So this is endless, people. If you know how to manipulate some of these things, you can have exercises for days hitting these same muscles. You can go heavy. I know some people like to go heavy on some of these things. Experiment with them, but typically they're better in the 8 to 15 rep range.
Okay.
Let's get into them.
Yeah, I heard it. All right, what's the first one, Doc?
So these are really in no particular order. I think last time we said
I think you threw them up there.
Yeah, we just threw them up because actually we both made independent list and then merged them and debated on which one should be on there and everything.
I won.
You're not supposed to tell them that.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay, number 1 is the incline dumbbell curl. The incline dumbbell curl. You sit on a bench. People just look up these videos. I don't want to describe.
You know what? As you were starting, I was like, maybe we should say, look it up, guys. There's plenty of videos out there.
Yeah, if you know the title, you'll know how to look it up. But why we like this exercise is because the elbow will start behind the torso. If you think about in normal curls, the elbow's in front of the torso and you're curling the weight up. Now the elbow stays behind and you're curling the weight up, but the elbow still stays behind. So basically the bicep starts in a lengthened position, which is really good because when the weight is, as you're moving the weight up, you're trying to get the force, you're trying to get the weight to be at its max like heaviness, so to speak, in relation to gravity when the muscles in like its full either lengthened or contracted position. And this one does well for the lengthened position, and it helps with the long head of the biceps, which is that little peak.
Big peak.
So you can do this one with dumbbells, right? You can do this with cables. The big difference between dumbbells and cables is that cables are going to give you a continuous resistance throughout the range of motion, while if you do the dumbbells correctly, the dumbbell should be the hardest at the peak contraction. So like when the bicep is fully contracted, the dumbbell is at its heaviest, so to speak, because it is perpendicular with gravity, perpendicular with
it's
the floor.
like where is the peak tension going to be in the movement?
Yes.
And I think that's why a lot of people say cables are some of the best for these isolation lifts, because you get that tension throughout the movement.
Yeah. And some of the movements, like, we'll get to that in a second. I want to break.
I'm excited.
I know. But some, like, gravity doesn't really matter. Like, you wouldn't. But in this one, it does. You can also do it with cables, or you can do what's called a pelican curl. This is the calisthenics version, and this one's brutal. You're holding onto some rings and your body, and you have to curl yourself back up. Look up pelican curl. It's a killer calisthenic version of this exercise. But if you're not doing the incline dumbbell curl or some sort of curl with your elbow behind your torso, you're missing out. This one's a great exercise. All right, what's number 2, Annabelle?
It was brutal doing it the other day. The pelican curl.
Yeah, if you've never done a bicep with your elbow behind, you're going to be sore. You're going to be real sore in your biceps.
All right, the next one. There are very many calf raise variations. They're all great. They're all hitting different parts of your calf. This one I like. It's called the donkey calf raise. Donkey. Yeah, you heard it right. It's like a little donkey.
Quit being an ass.
But you're raising your calf. No, the reason I like it, looking up the video, it's kind of bend over. Don't do it around the bros. Trust me. Is you're able to add a lot of weight and really overload the calf, especially if you have a home gym. I think when we were doing some calf training, we tried a lot of different options, and it was a little bit more challenging to overload. Not too hard, but this one's a lot easier. So what you're doing is you get a dip belt, put it around your waist, and you can tie a plate to it, and then you're just doing your calf raises while it's a little bit elevated.
Yeah. Yep. So this was one of Schwarzenegger's favorite ways to grow his calves. He would get in that position, and he would have girls sit on his back, and he would do calf raises with a human on his back.
Is that where he got the name?
What?
Donkey?
Maybe,
you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know where they get these names, but I don't know if that was because it was one of his favorites or if it was more of like the picture thing with like the women on his back as he's doing this calf raise exercise. I'm not sure, but it's a really good exercise. I would give it a shot. You will definitely feel it in your calves.
Oh, yeah.
And as Annabelle said, maybe get on something a little elevated so you can kind of get that full stretch, with the ankle and the calf and everything.
Yeah, I try to really control it on the way up and down.
And a good way to hit both. So the calves are a big term saying the gastroc and the soleus. So if you keep your knees straight, you'll hit the gastroc. If you bend your knees a little bit, you'll hit the soleus. The soleus is the deeper muscle and the one that kind of like pushes the gastroc out. The gastroc is the one where it's more on the outer side, and you can kind of see that peak contraction, so to speak, or the like the two head. Like people have got strong calves, like you'll see it. But the soleus is beneath it that pushes it out, makes it kind of gives it its size, and the gastroc, the outer one, kind of gives it its shape. But I would do it knees bent and knees straight.
What's the next one, Doc?
Number 3, we think every routine needs a lateral raise, a shoulder lateral raise.
The meaty delt.
Yeah. So this one hits that lateral or middle deltoid, and it helps give you that wide shoulder look. So all the pushing motions they'll hit some of the lateral, but they're really focused on the anterior, the front delt, so to speak.
Well, I guess, how would you compare this to the press? Because the overhead press, that is, it does hit it some.
Right. But again, it's not isolating it. It's going to work, the front delt is going to work more than the lateral delt on the overhead press. And plus you've got your triceps also working in the overhead press as well. So again, it's getting a little less love than some of those other muscles. So this is how you kind of like make up for it most likely being lagging or not as strong by throwing in these lateral raises. And you don't want to go too heavy with this, because one of the pitfalls of people doing these exercises, their upper traps will take over and they're almost like shrugging the weight and they're not actually abducting their arms. They're doing some abduction, but their traps are taking over at the end. I mean, it's good.
I would say that's probably a key for a lot of these isolation lifts. Wouldn't you say that is?
Go light, try and feel the muscle, and then slowly build up. Yeah, that's a good point, Hannibal.
Because if not, you're going to incorporate other muscles that you may not want to be.
Yes, exactly. Now, since we've already touched on the dumbbell and cable in that first exercise, I think after this example, people have a pretty good understanding. So if you think about when the arm is at 90 degrees, that is when that lateral delt is at its like almost fully contracted position. And if you're holding the weight out to the side, that's when the load is at its most intense, because you got the weight and gravity perpendicular to the floor. So at its peak contraction, the weight's at its heaviest, which is good. But the cable will do is you'll get the full range of motion with the same resistance throughout. So it'll still be the same resistance at the beginning as it is at the end. And that's good if you're trying to like strengthen in that lower position before you get to that 90-degree position. So it just kind of depends, and mix it up. It just depends. I was trying to think of a calisthenic version of this, and honestly, if you're getting to a side plank position, you're going to isometrically be working that lateral delt. So that might be a good calisthenic version of this exercise.
Yeah, and then another one that we like, sticking with the shoulders, this is the rear delt. It's kind of harder to get in a lot of your movements. And one of the ones we have been trying lately, and I really feel it better with this one than other sort of rear delt exercise, is the face pull.
The face pull is a great exercise.
I really feel it in my rear delt when I do this versus maybe like a bent over, seated, reverse fly.
We do this a lot in physical therapy. We try to incorporate at least at my clinic and myself, we try to incorporate the face pull in, because it's an isolation exercise, but it's working a lot of muscles. It works, as Hannibal said, the rear delt. It's working some of the rhomboids. One key one is it's working part of the rotator cuff, specifically the external rotators. So like your infraspinatus, your teres minor. It's getting a little bit of the middle traps. So it is working, a decent amount of muscles, but it's great for that kind of over the head, like 90-90 position of the shoulder and elbow. And it's really good for rotator cuff health, like really good. And again, getting that posterior strength in the shoulder, like the back of the shoulder with that posterior delt. A lot of people have that rounded shoulders, almost can get that impingement type stuff in the front part of their shoulder because they do bench and they do a bunch of push-ups, but they're not working in that, posterior and externally rotated position of the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can do this on rings for the calisthenic version.
Oh gosh, rings.
Yeah, face pulls are for cable. I wouldn't do face pulls with dumbbells. I would just do them with cables.
Maybe bands too.
Or bands, yeah.
But
bands.
No dumbbells.
Yeah, no dumbbells. All right, what's number 5, Hannibal?
Ooh.
You like this one.
I do like this one.
You're always trying to put that in our workouts.
I really feel like this would help my my bench a lot. And it's the lying tricep extension. It's a little different than a skull crusher because you're going all the way behind your head when you're laying with a barbell. And then you're pushing it up. Man, you get that stretch. Not a lot of people are big into like stretching your muscle when you're lifting. And there's some debate on it, but I think like it helps. You can do it with a dumbbell too. You just hold 2 dumbbells and you just, I think that's called maybe a little bit different, but it helps so much.
Yeah, you can load up on this isolation exercise. This is one that you can get pretty heavy with.
Oh yeah,
to a degree. And Annabelle was saying earlier with that stretch is the weight or the exercise is hardest in that lengthened position. So like when the muscle isn't at its most contracted, like some of the other exercises we talked about, but when it's most lengthened. And that's tough. That's like when you when you try to do a pull-up, that almost like that first little bit of the movement is hard because like you're starting from a fully lengthened position.
Oh, yeah.
Versus like the opposite of starting at the top and lowering yourself. So this one's loading it up in that lengthened position. Super challenging, especially if you've only done tricep press downs. This is a good one to substitute with because you'll feel it.
Yeah, it's a good one to switch up. What's the other one, Cam?
This is actually this is probably my favorite isolation lift. I haven't told you this.
Wait, really?
Yeah, this is my favorite one. And the sad part is since I have a home gym, I don't have a cable crossover machine to be able to do this, or a pec fly machine. But the cable chest fly is one of my favorites when I used to go to the gym. Because you can, like, the burn in your pecs, the burn in your chest is unreal. At least I could feel it. And it's great for pec development. I've even heard of some, bodybuilders who have like avoided the bench press and just do, a lot of pec flies and, that isolation stuff for their chest. I'm not, saying that, but I love this exercise. It gives an unreal burn.
Man.
And I've been doing them with rings. That's the calisthenic version. And man, it will pump you up.
I have not done chest flies in a very long time. But I have to give them a try next time I'm in the actual gym, road gym.
So this one too, I just want to, we're going to give our 2 cents, our opinion on this. We don't really like the dumbbell chest flies. We like the cable chest flies.
Yeah, I think I still think that for a lot of these, if you have cables, I would go with that first.
I think Arnold was really like the dumbbell chest flies, but when the pecs are at their most contracted position, there's almost like there's no weight because the dumbbell, like your arms are straight up, so you're not even the weight doesn't even get transferred to your pecs anymore, like even some of these others. It's hardest in the lengthened position. I understand that, but at its most contracted position, you're not even feeling any weight. So yeah. I mean, you can definitely do them. I don't like them. I think the cable feels a whole lot better.
Or you say maybe rings if you have them?
Yeah, if you got rings, that's an easy way to, if you don't have like a pec fly machine or a cable machine, just hook some rings onto a barbell or onto a pull-up bar, and you can change the angle of like your body when you do it. Obviously, it's harder to go more, parallel with the floor. But I've been doing
there's ways to scale calisthenics. Just look it up.
All right, number 7. Ooh, the sissy squat.
Oh my goodness.
And let me tell you, people, there is nothing sissy about this exercise. It's a quad blaster. It's a great exercise. One reason why I like it is it is a closed chain exercise.
Closed chain over open chain,
Two
baby.
Chain.
Closed chain.
It is a closed chain exercise, which means you're able to, even for an isolation exercise, you're able to recruit a little bit more.
Hey, explain closed chain versus open chain for the listeners.
Oh, yeah. Okay, closed chain, think squat, your body moves through space. Open chain, think your extremities move through space, your body stays stationary like a leg press. So whatever you're pushing against or holding on to on closed chain, it's stationary, it doesn't move, and your body moves. Push-ups. Open chain is the weight is moving in relation to your body. Think bench press.
Boom.
There. You put me on the spot there, but don't worry. Another reason why I really like the sissy squat is, you hear a lot of things online about bulletproofing your knees and, give yourself the strongest knees. And, there's probably a lot of truth to that. But one reason why I like this is it does strengthen the knees in that knee over toe position. Because we do life, your knees are in multiple angles and ranges and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it does help strengthen your knees when they're over your toes. And like the whole exercise is pretty much over your toes until you get back to the start position. So I really think that's good.
No, I like this one too. Please scale this one.
Oh
guys.
Yeah. If you're having any knee pain, you definitely got to scale this one. You might not be ready for this.
Grab a broom, I don't know, a band or something.
Hold on to something. Do partial range. I don't know. Just
there's a lot of ways to do it. I don't know where you're at, but definitely scale it.
Yes, for sure. And another reason why we like it is the quad. It's the exercise is hardest when the quads are at their most lengthened position. So it's tough. Speaking of the next one, Annabelle, this is your favorite.
I think this might be my favorite leg one is the Nordic hamstring curls.
Annabelle believes, and I can't say he's wrong. He believes this exercise is what allowed him to deadlift 405.
I think so. Obviously, I'm biased because there was a period of time last fall where I didn't deadlift at all. I didn't even touch the bar and do any deadlift until January. But you know what I was still doing? I was doing a lot of these Nordic hamstring curls.
Yeah, he took a little break from deadlifting. And again, he had built up a good deadlift, and he took a break.
Up to that point, I had done 320, 315, something around that. And then
he just did all Nordic hamstring curls, and then came back, and within like a month and a half, brought his deadlift up by 70-something pounds.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, goodness gracious.
So, like we said earlier, with some of these, they can definitely help assist and support your compound lifts.
These are also called the gorilla curls. You don't know why.
Annabelle thinks that you walk like a gorilla after because you're like hunched over and hobbling around. So
it's true.
This is also another great way to quote unquote bulletproof your knees because you're getting that eccentric lowering. You can use your hands to push off. It's hardest when the hamstrings at their most lengthened position. And just like there's the war at the knee between what we call anterior and posterior translation of the tibia, a lot of people are quad dominant, but not hamstring or equalized with their hamstring. So that causes more anterior translation of the tibia, can increase your risk potentially of ACL tears. We've covered that in past episodes. But you just want a stable knee. You want the front to be as equal in the back. So don't overlook Nordic hamstring curls.
They're still my favorite.
All right, number 9. We haven't talked about the glutes yet.
The booty.
Hip thrusters. This is a great glute developer and low back stabilizer.
The one exercise all male population avoid.
Yeah, that is kind of true, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Men, get in there and do some hip thrusters.
Listen, we need to develop the booty too.
That's right. We actually do this a lot in rehab. We start with the basic version called the bridge. You're just lifting your hips from like the floor of the table. And there's different ways you can, make it harder and all that kind of stuff. But the hip thruster is essentially a bridge with weight, and then you can scale. And it's a great glute activator and low back. It's an overall good exercise in general.
Yeah.
And if you've never done them, men, throw them in there and see what it feels like.
Yeah. But please use a mat. You'll destroy your hips.
Oh, yeah. If you got bony hips, you need some sort of thing to kind of go over that, whether it's a towel or one of those foam things that they use for that exercise.
Yeah, it'll hurt.
All right.
Here's another one that I really like.
This is a lot. This is number 10.
Number 10, guys. Obviously, there's so many other isolation exercises. I'm not saying this one's better than the other one, but if you really want a strong, quote-unquote, core, do the ab wheel. Oh, my gosh. It just destroys your core. You're shaking. You can't even properly bend over the next day. It's brutal. What do you call it? The wheel from hell?
Oh, the evil. I call it. That's a good one. I think I just call it the evil ab wheel.
Oh, well, that's probably better.
Yeah. We don't want to swear on the podcast, Annabelle.
Listen, we're recording this after hours, guys.
We are on a different day today, people, so we're a little bit out of our routine. But yeah, this is a great one. If you haven't done it, throw it in there. You can always substitute potentially with a hanging leg raise. It's easier on the floor doing just leg raises on the floor. But try the ab wheel.
You can scale it. You can start on your knees. And then the goal for me is one day do it standing.
Oh, yeah. Like on your toes. Like
yeah.
on your
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's sensible.
So those are our top 10. Annabelle, do you want to recap the top 10 real quick? And then we got one bonus exercise.
I gave Cam the look like, hey, aren't we going to talk about the
bonus? We got one bonus one. All right, top 10.
Oh, you forgot? Okay. All right. Number 1, again, in no particular order, is the incline curl. Then, you can pick dumbbells, calisthenics. Doesn't matter. Pick one. Then the donkey calf raise, lateral raise, face pulls, lying tricep extensions, cable chest flies, the dog's favorite, Sissy Squats, gorilla curls, also known as Nordic hamstring curls,
Trademark pending for one animal Rio.
hip thrusters, and then the ab wheel or the evil wheel.
Now, some of you guys are thinking, you left off the barbell curl. Cam, Annabelle, that is the one isolation exercise that you can really load up on.
The one that every bro does.
And that's why we kept it as a bonus. I think that more people will do that exercise, and so that's not...
I think we were trying to put something that maybe people wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, and there again, you might have all these in your routine or have done them and be like, yeah, I've done all these. That's basic, move on. But if you do the barbell curl more than the incline one, give the incline one a shot, and you will, it'll shoot your bicep gains to the next phase.
Yeah, I mean, I still do the... Listen, there's a reason there's the easy curl bar out there for the boys to curl.
And yeah, with the barbell curl, you can definitely load up on it for sure, or the easy curl bar, as Annabelle said. But again, isolate, feel that mind-muscle connection, then start to scale.
Like Cam likes to say, own the movement. You need to own it.
Yeah, own it.
Yeah.
Hero's
journey.
For some reason, I just thought, just beat it. Oh, you said just own it. Just own it.
Just own it on the way up and on the way down.
That's right. So I guess to summarize everything, why we think you should do isolation exercises is because of that mind-muscle connection. And developing that mind-muscle connection will help you be able to contract and squeeze that muscle harder, which will mean you'll have more likely to develop that muscle better.
Mm-hmm.
And it assists or supports your main lifts. If you take anything out of this, think about Annabelle doing the Nordic hamstring curls and then adding tons of weight onto his deadlift. Think about this like that. So,
all right, guys.
What do you want the people to do?
I don't know if you're already doing any of these or not, but pick 2 of these exercises, add them to your routine. Specifically if it's a lagging body part or maybe an area where you're not as strong and you want to get one of your lifts up, whatever that might be. And then pick 2 of these, add them to your routine. Try to perfect the technique, feel the muscle, and then gradually add some weight.
Yeah. So start with maybe 8 reps, 3 sets of 8 reps. And then once you can do that good, move to 10 or move to 9 to 10, move to 10 to 12, move from 12 to 15, and then increase the weight, drop back down to 8 reps. And that's how you progress.
Easy peasy. All right. I don't have anything else, Doc. What about you?
Just get lost in the sauce.
All right, guys. Remember, you're a human. We should not seek perfection, but daily improvement.
All right,
See ya.
guys.